Okay, now we're going to talk about what happens if the growth rate of dividends changes over time. So we've talked about the fact that the company has a life cycle. In the beginning, in the intro and growth phases, the company is expanding rapidly. So it's taking a lot of its earnings and deciding to retain those earnings to allow the company to grow. So think about Amazon, right? It doesn't pay out dividends because it's still in that growth phase. In fact, it's growing exponentially now as everyone is ordering everything online, right? So even me, I ordered chalk today. That's how desperate we are for activities to do. We ordered more chalk. So, when you're in that phase, you might be paying out no dividends, and then you will change as you get more into the maturity and decline phases. You'll start to pay out more and more of your earnings in the form of dividends because you don't have so many growth opportunities. So think about it now, like what you're starting to see fewer and fewer versions of the iPhone come out, right? I mean, now what can they possibly do? There's only so much more that they can advance in R&D right now. So you're starting to see more dividends coming out from Apple now versus you saw less dividends in the past when they were advancing much more rapidly through the technological growth. Okay, so how does this work? Your firm just paid a $2 dividend, so that would be DIV 0. If the risk-free rate is 7, the rate of return on the market is 12, and the beta is 1.2, so we're going to use that to calculate our risk-based required rate of return. If growth rate is 0 for 3 years before a long-term growth rate of 6%, what is the best estimate of the stock's price today? So there's going to be a whole bunch of steps involved in this. I don't know if you can hear my children in the background being yeah, that's Ezra. He's apparently a monster. Okay, so step 1, figure out the required rate of return on the stock. So we're going to use CAPM. The risk-free rate is 7. The rate of return on the market was 12, right? And then our beta is 1.2. So our market risk premium times our beta plus our risk-free rate. Our stock requires a 13% rate of return. All right, that's not always one of the steps, but in this case it is. Next, what we're going to do is, and this is going to look complicated, we're going to identify the horizon year. The horizon year is going to be the year of the growth rate change. So in this case, the horizon year is year 3 because 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, all of those are at G1, our first growth rate, which in this case is 0. Our second growth rate is 6%, and that occurs from year 3 onward. So step 1, identify the horizon year. Step 2, calculate the growth rates. Now in this case, they're given to us. G1 is 1 and G2 is 6%. Step 3, use the growth rates to calculate the dividends, including the dividend in year H plus 1. So step 3, use the growth rates to calculate the dividends, including the dividend in year horizon plus 1. So it's really easy to calculate the dividends when there's no growth rate. It just paid a $2 dividend, so DIV 0 was 2. We know we need to use DIV 1 in our calculation, but we're multiplying it times 1 plus 0, so it's still 2 in years 1, 2, and 3. But from year 3 onward, it's going to grow at 6%. So 2 times 1.06, or 2 plus 6%, is going to be $2.12. Now, why do I figure out the dividend in year 4, or horizon plus 1? Remember, my horizon year was year 3. Well, the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to calculate the stock price in year 3, and the stock price in year 3 is going to represent the present value of all future expected dividends from that point forward. So step 4 is going to be to calculate the price in the horizon year using dividend H plus 1. So now I'm going to do that step. The price in year 3 is equal to my dividend in year 4 of $2.12 divided by R minus G. Which G do we use? We're going to use G2, the growth rate from that point on. So my price in year 3 is $30.29. Sally, say hi to mommy, students. $30.29. Okay, so now I'm going to discount all of my dividends and my stock price in my horizon year back to their value in year 0 and add them up. So I have this shown here in this picture as 4 separate present value calculations, But in reality, you're going to be plugging this into Excel, as you will see in the next video. This is just to show you what the concept is.